Stop waiting, because waiting is the most dangerous habit you will ever form. Waiting tells your nervous system that life happens to you, that someday is more powerful than today, that potential is something you admire instead of something you live. And every day you wait, you quietly train yourself to believe that you are not ready, not enough, not capable yet. But let me tell you something that might shake you a little. Clarity does not come before action. It comes from action. It comes from action. Most people think they're waiting for confidence, waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect moment when fear disappears and certainty shows up like a green light. That moment never comes. Because confidence is not a prerequisite for action. Confidence is the result of keeping promises to yourself. And you don't become someone new by thinking about it. You become someone new by deciding and then acting in alignment with that decision, even when every part of you feels uncomfortable. Right now, there is a version of you that knows exactly what you're capable of. You felt it in quiet moments, late at night, early in the morning, when no one is watching. And yet there's another part of you that keeps saying, wait a little longer, learn a little more, heal a little more, prepare a little more. And preparation can look responsible, but too often it's just fear wearing a clever disguise. You don't need more time. You need a new identity. Because the moment you stop asking, when will I be ready? And start asking, who must I become? Everything changes. Becoming is not an event. It's a daily practice. It's what you do when no one applauds. It's the standards you hold when no one enforces them. It's the way you speak to yourself when things don't work out. Let me be clear, your life is not shaped by your intentions. It's shaped by your rituals. What you do consistently, especially when you don't feel like it, and if your daily rituals are built around waiting, distraction, and comfort, then no matter how big your dreams are, your results will always stay small. Not because you're incapable, but because you're rehearsing the wrong identity every single day. Becoming requires discomfort. It requires you to let go of the version of you that other people are comfortable with. And that's hard because we're wired for approval. We're wired to belong. But growth often demands that you disappoint people who only knew the old you. You have to decide whose opinion matters more, the people who benefit from you staying the same, or the future that's calling you to rise. Stop waiting for permission. No one is coming to tap you on the shoulder and say, now it's your turn. Life doesn't work that way. The people who change their lives are not braver than you. They are not more talented than you. They simply decided that the pain of staying the same became greater than the pain of change. And once that switch flips, action becomes inevitable. Understand this, every day you wake up, they become your identity. But the moment you raise your standards, the moment you say, this is no longer who I am, your behavior begins to shift to match that decision. Becoming doesn't mean you suddenly have it all figured out. It means you move forward while figuring it out. It means you take the step before you feel ready. It means you act in alignment with your values even when your emotions are screaming at you to retreat. Because emotions are powerful, but they are not leaders, they are followers. They follow meaning, and you are the one who decides what things mean. Failure does not mean you're broken, it means you're in motion. Confusion does not mean you're lost. It means you're stretching beyond who you used to be. And fear does not mean stop. Fear often means you're standing at the exact edge of your next level. The only real mistake is interpreting fear as a signal to retreat instead of a signal to rise. So ask yourself, who do I become when things get hard? Do I become smaller, quieter, safer? Or do I become someone who shows up anyway? Who keeps commitments? Who takes responsibility even when it would be easier to blame circumstances? Identity is built in these moments, not in the highlights, in the hard, unseen choices. You are not behind. You are not broken. becoming someone who acts from vision, not from fear, because one day you will look back at this version of yourself. And the only question that will matter is this: did you keep waiting for life to change, or did you decide to change and let life respond? Waiting feels safe because it gives you the illusion of control. You tell yourself you're being responsible, strategic, patient. But underneath that story, there's something else happening. Every time you wait, you reinforce fear at a neurological level. You teach your brain that hesitation is protection and action is danger. Over time, that pattern becomes automatic. You don't even realize you're doing it anymore. You stop seeing opportunities as invitations and start seeing them as threats. And without meaning to, you begin designing a life that is organized around avoiding discomfort instead of pursuing growth. Fear doesn't disappear by thinking about it. Fear disappears when you move your body, when you take action, when you prove to yourself through experience that you can handle more than your mind claims. The mind's job is not to make you happy or fulfilled. Its job is to keep you alive. So it will always exaggerate risk, magnify uncertainty, and whisper worst case scenarios the moment you step outside familiar territory. If you wait for fear to go away, you will wait forever, because fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that you are stretching beyond who you've been. Becoming begins the moment you act before feeling ready. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. Nobody wakes up one morning suddenly fearless, confident, and certain. The people you admire did not start with clarity. They started with commitment. They moved while scared. They spoke while uncertain. They showed up while doubting themselves. And with every action, their nervous system learned a new pattern. I can survive this. I can handle this. I am capable of more. That is how confidence is built, not through motivation, but through evidence. When you delay action, you don't stay neutral. You move backward. Momentum works in both directions. Either you are building evidence that you are someone who acts, or you are building evidence that you are someone who hesitates. And the longer you rehearse hesitation, the heavier it becomes. What once felt like a small delay turns into an identity. You start saying things like, that's just how I am, I overthink, I need more time, I'm not ready yet. But those are not personality traits. Those are habits reinforced by repetition. Action before readiness is uncomfortable because it challenges the story you've been telling yourself about who you are. It forces you to confront the gap between your potential and your behavior. That gap creates tension. Most people try to relieve that tension by lowering their expectations instead of raising their actions. They shrink their dreams so they don't have to feel the discomfort of growth. But discomfort is not the enemy. Stagnation is. Regret is. The slow erosion of self, trust that comes from repeatedly breaking promises to yourself, is far more painful than temporary fear. Every meaningful transformation begins with a moment where you choose courage over comfort. Not heroic courage, not dramatic courage. Simple courage. The courage to send the message. The courage to start before you feel qualified. The courage to say no to what drains you and yes to what challenges you. These small acts of courage compound. They reshape how you see yourself. And once your identity begins to shift, behavior follows naturally. You don't have to force discipline when you see yourself as someone who follows through. Fear thrives in stillness. It grows louder when you give it space. Action interrupts that pattern. Movement creates clarity. You don't figure things out and then move. You move and then figure things out. Life rewards speed of implementation, not perfection of planning. The longer you wait, the more complex everything feels. The moment you act, complexity starts to dissolve into solvable problems. Problems give you feedback. The version that doesn't need certainty to move forward. That version already exists. It just hasn't been exercised enough. Strength grows through use. So does courage. So does self-belief. You don't wait to feel strong to lift the weight. You lift the weight to become strong. If you look closely at your life, you'll see that the moments you're most proud of were not moments when you felt ready. They were moments when you acted anyway, when you trusted something deeper than your doubts, when you chose progress over paralysis. Those moments didn't eliminate fear forever, but they proved something essential. Fear does not control you unless you allow it to. The real cost of waiting is not time, it's identity. Every day you postpone action, you reinforce the belief that fear gets the final say. And every day you act despite fear, you reinforce the belief that you are the kind of person who moves forward no matter what. That belief becomes your anchor. That anchor changes how you show up in every area of your life. Relationships, work, health, purpose. Becoming is not about a single breakthrough. It's about a pattern of choosing action over avoidance, again and again, until what once felt terrifying becomes familiar and what once felt impossible becomes normal. Identity is not something you find, it is something you rehearse. Every single day, through the standards you hold and the rituals you practice, you are telling yourself who you are, not through your words, but through your behavior. You can say you want more, you can say you believe in growth, you can say you're committed to change, but your nervous system only listens to what you repeatedly do. And whatever you do consistently becomes your identity, whether you are aware of it or not. Most people think their life is shaped by their intentions. It's not. It's shaped by what they tolerate. What you tolerate emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually becomes the blueprint for your reality. If you tolerate excuses, they become your language. If you tolerate self-doubt, it becomes your inner voice. If you tolerate distraction, it becomes your lifestyle. Standards are invisible until they show up as results. And by then, most people are living inside patterns they never consciously chose. Rituals are how standards are expressed. They are the small, daily actions that don't feel dramatic, but quietly determine everything. How you start your morning, how you speak to yourself under pressure, how you recover after a setback, how you treat your body when no one is watching. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are votes. Votes for the person you are becoming. And you are casting those votes every single day, whether you are intentional about it or not. If you want to change your life, you don't start by chasing motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on mood, energy, and circumstance. You start by raising your standards. Standards are non-negotiable. They define what you will and will not accept from yourself. When your standards change, your behavior has to rise to meet them. Not because you force it, but because anything below your standards becomes uncomfortable. The reason people stay stuck is not because they lack resources. It's because they are loyal to an old identity. That identity was built during a time when certain behaviors kept them safe. Avoidance, people-pleasing, overthinking, staying small. Those patterns once served a purpose. But what once protected you may now be the very thing holding you back. Growth requires betrayal of the old self. And that can feel frightening because familiarity feels like safety even when it hurts. You don't break an identity by fighting it. You outgrow it by practicing a new one. And practice doesn't mean perfection. It means repetition, showing up again and again. Look at your rituals honestly. Not the ones you wish you had, but the ones you live by. Do they reflect the future you want or the past you're trying to escape? Most people wait for a big moment to change, some dramatic wake-up call. But identity doesn't change in a moment. It changes in moments. Small, quiet moments where you choose a higher standard instead of the familiar one. When you raise your standards, resistance shows up. Your mind will negotiate. It will remind you of who you used to be. It will tell you this is too much, too hard, too different. That's not intuition. That's conditioning. The mind resists change because change threatens predictability. But predictability is not fulfillment. Predictability is just repetition. And repetition without growth becomes stagnation. True discipline is not about punishment. It's about alignment. When your actions align with your values, discipline feels like self-respect. When they don't, everything feels heavy. Most people think they need more willpower, but what they really need is clarity about who they are committed to becoming. Identity-driven change is sustainable because it's rooted in meaning, not force. Your environment also reinforces identity. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the conversations you engage in. If your environment supports the old you, becoming someone new will feel like swimming upstream. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone in your life. It means becoming conscious of what you allow to shape your standards. You either design your environment or it designs you. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you deposit trust into your internal account. Every time you break one, you withdraw from it. Over time, that balance determines how much you believe in yourself. Self-belief is not a personality trait. It's a reflection of your history with yourself. And that history can be rewritten one ritual at a time. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals are moments. Systems are identities in motion. If your system is built around convenience and comfort, no goal will save you. But if your system is built around standards that reflect who you want to be, progress becomes inevitable. Becoming someone new does not require a new personality, a new past, or a new set of circumstances. It requires a new agreement with yourself about what is acceptable and what is no longer an option. When you change what you tolerate, you change what you repeat. When you change what you repeat, you change who you are. And when your identity shifts, your life has no choice but to follow.